because of this, he was able to go to their family reunion. They hold a big family reunion every year in Chestnut Ridge, and he met all of his male cousins. Now, we don't know exactly how he fits into this family or where these ancestors are in his tree, but we know for a fact that they're there. How? Because he's sharing DNA with all these people who are descendants of Wilmore Male. There's no other way that this could happen if it wasn't that he's also descended from him. With African Americans, with slavery, obviously there's very recent brick walls, so it's not surprising that we can't identify how he fits in. But because of DNA alone, he was able to meet these cousins, and then he went and visited the gravesite of his ancestor, something he never could have done if it wasn't for DNA. So thanks to the power of genetic genealogy and DNA, families are being brought together every single day. Most of the stories stay private, and I can't tell you about them, but many of them are becoming public. And if you're interested in this, we have a Facebook group called DNA Detectives, where we're giving people tips and guidance on how to solve these family mysteries. If you're a genealogist and you want to help us, please join. We are voluntarily helping people who are looking for family, a lot of unknown parentage, adoptees, but that's not the only people that are there, other people who have recent brick walls, and we need people to do that tree building, both backwards and forwards with the reverse genealogy. So I hope you will join us there, and you'll get to read about a lot of very interesting stories like the ones I've talked about today. Thank you.
Awesome. Ladies, some questions? You can.
Do I have time?
What is your time? Yeah,
I guess I
you
do. Does anybody have any questions? I guess I have a couple minutes. I covered a lot. Yes?
Which companies do you recommend when you say all three?
The question is, which companies do I recommend when I say all three? There are 3 companies that are offering terrific services to genealogists. Those are Family Tree DNA, 23andMe, and Ancestry DNA. If you join that Facebook group, I have a pinned post, the way that it is most economical to do that. Because the prices have come down so much, you can be in all 3 databases for well under $300, which is amazing compared to what it used to cost when I first started doing this. If you are looking for family or you're looking to solve family mysteries, I always recommend you fish in all 3 ponds, because you just never know where that key match is tested. They have mostly unique databases, different people in each one, although there's some of us who are in all of them, of course, but for the most part, we're not.
Would you repeat those names again?
Yes, Family Tree DNA, which they have a booth here, 23andMe, I think they might also have a booth, but they're definitely here, and Ancestry DNA, which is the DNA arm of Ancestry.com. All 3 are terrific. I love them for different reasons. They have different strengths and weaknesses with the companies. Yes?
I appreciate your work. I'm adopted and I am fishing in all ponds. I know some real life stories and I know some DNA, but the information is so overwhelming and there's so much going on. Do you have any guidance to how best to organize yourself to really sort through this? And how do you, I don't even know where to begin when I look at all the data that I have.
The question is, she's adopted, and she's just saying it's overwhelming, all of the information that you get from these DNA tests, and that is totally true. And there's no easy way to handle all of it. Her question also involved, how do you organize it all? You know, I still take handwritten notes. I still draw out charts myself. I don't know, if you're that way as well, but I grew up before there were computers, and I do keep notes on the computer, but I find that I can really keep track of things better if I have a notebook. And I do have a notebook for each case, and I just keep putting all my notes in there. It's so overwhelming, as you said, and there's so much data that comes with autosomal DNA testing in particular, that I forget what I did, and I end up repeating my work. So if I put it all in one place and I review that, I remind myself of the work that I've already done. The other thing is, when we first started this work, there were very few success stories, as I mentioned, but it's changed. So even if you don't have close enough matches right now to solve your case, tomorrow you could. And since you're fishing in all 3 ponds, there's a good chance that one of these days you're going to get one of these second cousins or closer that will make your case so much easier to solve. You can do it with the more distant cousins, but it's a lot harder. It takes hundreds or thousands of hours. It's been done, but you may find you wake up one morning, you log in, and there's that first cousin, and it'll be solved that day oftentimes. So if you're not on our Facebook group, join, because there you can ask questions and get tips. And we need more volunteers, as I said, because the group is growing fast. But you'll definitely get questions answered there as you go along. You're welcome. Somebody over here?
Having done the test, you get about 900 people that are supposedly your relatives, yet you can only match a few. Is there a place that has some techniques and things that can be used to try to analyze stuff? I know you're using some kind of technique, but is there something recorded that where a person can go to and get ideas on how they can analyze data?
The question is dealing with the massive amounts of data and how to analyze it. The blogs are very good. It's hard to write a book that's up to date because things are changing so fast in this new field. The Genetic Genealogist, written by Blaine Bettinger, has great stuff. Kitty Cooper's blog has a lot of very practical advice on it. My blog, I haven't had much time to write on it, but if you look in the archives, I've written quite a bit as well. Really, though I really don't concentrate on the more distant matches anymore. When we first started and there was only 30,000 people in the 23andMe database, we all spent hundreds of hours trying to connect with those people. Now I just find that I don't have the time to do that. And if you're retired and you don't have any grandkids, you might have time to work on that. But for most of us, really, we should just concentrate on those first couple of pages of our matches if we can. Those are the ones that you're going to have a much better possibility of connecting with and learning something from. So it's a good question. It's a difficult question. DNA adoption teaches a course, and it's not just for people that are adopted, but it'll tell you how to make the spreadsheets where you're looking at all the people who share DNA with you on the same segments, which implies that you have a common ancestor with that whole group of people rather than just one or two people, and then you can work with those people as a team. So it's a difficult question to answer. We're getting there. We're learning. We've only been doing autosomal DNA analysis for genealogy for about 5 years. So I think that we're still learning the best ways to deal with this massive amount of data. Yes, I think one last one. Yes. Mm-hmm. The question is about, she found a second cousin on Ancestry DNA and they don't know how they connect, but she hasn't done her dad's side of the tree. So it's very likely that if you know all of your mother's grandparents and great-grandparents, then you're definitely looking at your father's side. If it's a predicted first to second cousin, that's a lot easier to find than if it's a predicted second to third cousin. So they have categories there. Rather than giving you the percentage so you can figure out more exactly the relationship, you have to just look at those bins. If it's first to second cousin, this is someone who's probably closer related to you than a second cousin. Okay, second to third's a little bit harder. Usually they underestimate, though, so it's more likely to be a second cousin than a third cousin. So you need to look at your dad's great-grandparent, or your great-grandparents and your dad's great-grandparents. It shouldn't be any further back than that. If she doesn't have a tree, sometimes you can do research for your matches yourself. If you're a good genealogist, if you know their ancestors before 1940 in particular, or if it's after 1940, you can use obituaries and find their family, build their tree for them. And sometimes matches are thrilled when you say, hey, look, I built your family tree and I found our common ancestor. We find we have to do that a lot in the cases that we work, because there are many people who don't have good trees, but they have great matches with somebody. I think I have to finish. Okay, one more. Wow.
With over 100 sets of years, I'm not sure how it goes, being common. So now I'm friends with 5 new Irish cousins and I'm Puerto Rican. My salient question was, I did the Ancestry test many years ago, and then they discontinued for a number of years. Should I retest with your new system?
Yes, the question is about Ancestry's old DNA test versus this one. So the old test that you did was a Y DNA test or a mitochondrial DNA test. Now it's an autosomal DNA test. which is really much more powerful for most of us in our research. So you should definitely retest, for sure. The Y DNA is a terrific way to just focus on your direct paternal line, but if you want to learn about your entire family tree, then autosomal is the key. Okay, got to be done. Bye, thanks.